I want to give a couple shout-outs first before I get going and get you guys questions. Alvin Futrell, Jeff Earls, John Fleury, Tyrone Smith, 4 strength coaches working here with me. Big shout-out to those guys. Those guys are a huge piece of the puzzle with what we do for these guys. And a lot of times they don't get any notoriety, but they grind in here as much as anybody in this building. So my staff, huge shout-out to Josh Nelson, Leanne Loudon, Dan Vasey. Sports science, nutrition, also a big piece of this thing as far as the improvement and development of these guys, so they play a big role. It's been a good 7 weeks. You know, this team from a maturity and a focus standpoint, I think we're where we need to be. We've set a good foundation going into spring ball, so I'm really happy with it. From a leadership standpoint, a couple guys that have put their best foot forward and really stepped up for this football team, Don DeLuca, Nick Dawkins. And for a guy who's new to the program, Julian Fleming, to come in as an older transfer, you know, he's put his head down, he's worked, he's done everything the right way, and what you would want out of a transfer. A couple guys from a growth, maturity standpoint, guys that I think are trending really well for us. Anthony Donko, you talk about a gritty kid who just embraces every challenge we put in front of him. He's got a bright future for this football team. Jameel Lyons is another guy who has emerged this offseason, just unbelievable athleticism. You got glimpses of it this past year with him getting a little bit of playing time. Again, I'm excited for him. Tony Rojas, I talked to you guys last year about him. He keeps trending. He's going to be a big player for us. And then 2 guys I'm really proud of. They're a little bit older in the program. Zachy Wheatley and Zariah Fisher, just from a maturity standpoint and to see where they are in their journey. Really happy with those guys. Zariah especially, the way he's embraced competition, because you guys know we've got a lot of competition going on at that defensive end spot right now. Really happy with the way he's responded. And then obviously we got a ton of mid-years this year. Cooper Cousins is a guy that flashes. You know, rarely do you get an offensive lineman come in here who just fits in from a body type standpoint, from a mentality, a demeanor standpoint. Usually it takes those big guys a couple of years to really develop and find their game, but he's positioned himself to where he's going to compete this spring ball. Proud of him. Xavier Gilliam, you guys are going to like watching him fly around the field out there. Powerful kid, really twitched up kid. Quinn Martin has really impressed. Luke Reynolds has really impressed. And then all these transfers, you know, our guys, our staff, our recruiting staff, our personnel staff, you know, we do a really good job in the transfer portal. We bring in the right type of guys, Penn State guys, who fit well with our culture. So I'm proud of all of our transfers who have come in as well. So with that being said, anybody have any questions?
Chuck, you mentioned Julian being a leader right away. What does that look like?
To me, and again, I've been doing this for a long time, it comes down to having awareness and maturity, and he is very aware. He's a very mature young man who came in, and his actions have told his story. He hasn't said much, nor have I asked him to say much. He's just put his head down, and he's worked, and he's earned the respect of everybody on this football team. Now, it always helps when you're acquainted with most of the guys on the team like he is, being a PA guy. But I'm really happy with him. Just came in, didn't say much, just let his work do the talking.
Chuck, with Abdul Carter switching to defensive end, what's been the process and the plan to prepare him physically?
No process, no plan. Like Abdul, you guys obviously, he is a physically gifted kid whose body can pretty much go whatever direction we want it to. So for me to stand here and say, well, we've got this plan to put 20 pounds on him, this and that, no. I mean, he's still a young guy. He's only going to be in his 3rd year. His frame is still filling out, so he's just naturally thrown into that position.
Chuck, Garrett Sexton's about 30 pounds heavier than where he was listed as signing day. I don't know if that's what he was in December, but it seems like he's packed on a lot of pounds. Did he come to campus already underway with that process, and what did it look like since he got here?
Now, I forget what the number was exactly when he came in. You guys would probably know that better. But yeah, you're right. He is up like 25 pounds. He's a classic case of a guy who came in and looked around and saw the size of these guys in the weight room and said, wow, I got to get bigger and I got to eat. And he ate a lot early and he put weight on early. So I actually had to kind of hit the brakes with him and slow him down a little bit. I said, boss, you know, you're putting weight on and we like that, but it's got to be the right type of weight. And at the end of the day, you got to be an efficient athlete for us. So not just a guy who's stacking on weight. So we've slowed him down a little bit. Body composition is going to be a big thing. And that's not to say he's got bad body composition right now, but I'd like to come, I'd like for it to come a little bit slower than what it has.
Chuck, you talked about Donko. Could you size up where those second-year linemen are after their first year in the program with Chimdi and Javen and Birchmeyer?
Where they are within the program?
Well, just in terms of how they progressed strength-wise and physically.
Chimdi has got big lower body strength. You guys probably saw it on display today. So I'm happy with where Chimdi is. He's a big human being who we're going to have to continue to work on. Short area quickness, foot speed, and that's coming along. He's doing a good job. Donko, like I said earlier, he has progressed in just about every performance area the way we want him to. He's pretty much on track so far. And then who was the other one?
Javen and Birch.
And then Javen probably came in a little bit ahead of schedule from a performance standpoint. Javen's big thing is we just need to kind of get him a little bit closer to 310 as opposed to the lower 300s right now. And he's going to be a monster out there. So they're all doing a great job.
Chuck, you mentioned that Quentin has impressed you. In what ways has he impressed?
So Quentin is funny because he's actually, I was a little bit surprised when he first got here at how raw he was. I thought he was going to be a little bit more finished, especially on some of the things that we do out on the field. And I'm not knocking his baseline by any means, but the amount that he's grown since being here in the short amount of time, the 6 to 7 weeks on campus, that's what I've been most impressed with. The numbers will come. They'll be there at the end of the day, probably year 2, year 3. Like he will have elite numbers, but just the short time period improvement that he's had, I'm really happy with that. Like he is a locked-in kid.
What has Drew's winter been like?
Very, very good. Drew's consistent as can be. I mean, all three of those quarterbacks, Drew, Bo, Jax, I know exactly what those guys are going to be like when they come in the weight room every day. And he's been great. Drew, you talk about guys being raw when they first get on campus. I said the same thing about him 2 years ago when he got here. He was super raw. And you can see it in here today. He holds his own with everything. So I'm really happy with Drew.
What's it been like getting to work with Nolan Rucci? And obviously, you get a guy at that point in their career. What's that transition been like into this weight program?
Mm-hmm. It's been great because, I remember the whole recruiting process with Nolan, with his brother, acquainted with the family. And I'm just really happy that he's finally in our building and I have the chance to train him. He's been great. Like he hasn't missed a beat. As soon as he came in, he fit right in with the guys. It helps when you're comfortable with the staff. He knew the entire strength staff here. The people that he's with for the most part these first 7 weeks. He's been outstanding since he's been here. Really happy with Nolan.
What would you say about the two SEC transfers and Jalen and AJ, guys who obviously have background in some serious programs? How prepared do they come in for what you want, and what are the biggest things moving forward for those guys?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
AJ and Jalen coming in from SEC programs, did they come in kind of ready to roll here, or were there some things that you had to kind of, adjust with the way they approach weightlifting and conditioning?
No, from a weightlifting conditioning, it's sporadic. It depends. I mean, I talk to strength coaches across the country, and I know all the strength coaches from the schools that they come with. So it depends on what school they come from and how the two programs marry up, what we do similar, what we do different as far as a preparation standpoint for what we do. But both of them have been fine. Both of them, anytime you transfer from a big school, those guys are about their business. Like, they're here for a reason. Like, they didn't just come here to hang out and collect a scholarship. So those guys are very businesslike in the way that they go about it, which makes it nice for me because you don't have to worry about the demeanor and their approach every day. And you just worry about administering the program to them. They've been great.
You said you've been doing this a long time, and you talked about the things that stand out to you about Cooper Cousins. What is it about the way he was training and going through things before he got here that allowed him to come in and seemingly thrive pretty quickly in your program?
Well, I guess the reason I've been so impressed physically, he was ready to go. He was one of the best guys as far as keeping communication with us, as far as what the expectation was when they first stepped on campus as a mid-year. But his mental game And the way he is with his teammates and the guys within his class, I think he's got some serious leadership ability. I could see him being a future leader for us down the road. Just the way he communicates with his peers. He doesn't necessarily communicate amongst his class, like you would think a freshman in college would. He's hard on his peers, which, as you guys know, that's difficult for a lot of these guys. To be hard on somebody who's the same age as them or 1 or 2 years younger or older, it's hard for them. But he's good about that. Like, he's hard on guys around him, but he also loves them up and he's compassionate towards them when they deserve it and when they need it. So I think he's really mature in that sense.
Where's
Two more
Tony,
guys.
taking a step this year? Last year.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
Where's Tony Rojas taking a step this year? Very impressive his first year in a development stage. What has he done now to refine or improve that?
He just, like Tony is a guy who, we talked about, his tremendous, weight gain when he first came on campus last year. But his performance numbers and metrics, they just keep climbing, and they keep climbing with the weight gain. A lot of times guys get on campus and they put 20 pounds on. Well, it's at a detriment of something, usually their movement. Not Tony. Like Tony's movement has been right there, trending positive, with his body composition and his physicality, his physical build, and it keeps getting better as well. And he's got a voice in that room now. For a guy who hadn't been on campus a ton of time, he's got a pretty strong voice in that room.
You mentioned Luke Reynolds as another mid-year guy who's impressed you. Where have you seen progress from him in that 6 to 7 weeks, man?
He's a very athletic tight end. He's another one physically. He came in light. He's put on really good weight for us. I think he's up to like 226 pounds right now. He's just got great athleticism. That's what stands out the most to me. He does need to get stronger in here with us, and he will. But just when he walks in the room, you see he's a thin-skinned guy. He's a long guy who can move the way he does, and he just kind of jumps off the page for you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Chuck.
guys. Appreciate you all.